ENCA's Cyril Ramaphosa attended that event earlier on today. She joins me now. Thank you so much for your time, Cyril. Let's just reflect perhaps on what the President had to say. What were some of the highlights?
Well, the President, Dumelo, said what other ministers and other presidents have been saying throughout the year. As you know, the Basic Education Lekgotla happens every year around this time when schools reopen, when the new academic year starts. So he mentioned things like the fact that our teachers also need to continue learning because, of course, education just keeps improving in terms of what it is that we need to look to as South Africa in terms of our basic education.
Yeah.
So he mentioned things like the fourth industrial revolution. That's important, teaching children things like coding, making sure, especially Dumelo, with early childhood development, that a child is able to read, but not only read for the sake of being able to pronounce the English words or Betty words in the book correctly, but to be able to read for understanding, to explain what it is that they've just read. So he spoke about the fact that, early childhood development is important. And we've heard this before, Dumelo. And when you look at a report by a forum that did a report on education across the globe, they looked at South Africa, and out of 138 countries, we were actually ranked 126. So they do also say in that report that the problem is not the money that we invest in education. As you know, in South Africa, every time each minister of finance, whoever it may be, education department, the basic education department receives the biggest chunk.
Right.
So the problem is not how much we're investing, it's probably where we are investing, especially because it was found that a lot of our teachers actually, they're not good at even the subject that they teach. So that's what the President was saying. He was saying basically that, government's task is really simple. It's to make sure, firstly, that, you start with the child early so that by the time they get to a level like matric or even an even bigger level like a university, they don't have to start all over trying to learn the 1+1s again.
Yes. And just in terms of funding, did he mention any numbers in terms of how much exactly they're putting into literacy and education? Because I think even with the matric, season, we've seen a lot of challenges that the Department of Basic Education is facing. For once, the overcrowding of, some students in one class, a teacher having to teach multiple subjects that perhaps they're not inclined to. But also we've seen, schools now being burned, some being robbed, some students not having the necessary equipment to empower them in those subjects like life science and physics. So did he mention any numbers in terms of budget for this?
The numbers have not been mentioned. Remember, it's a 3-day lekgotla. They have teachers' unions, SGBs and SGB organizations that are there to be able to basically just bring up ideas. So most importantly, what we found out, especially from the Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, is that this year when it comes to early childhood development, remember it wasn't the focus of the education department before, and now it's become, it's become part of their mandate. So that is going to be planning for the entire 2020. It's going to be planning from government, finding out exactly how much it is that they're going to need in terms of, building the early childhood development centers for the children to be able to go to. So this year is dedicated, according to the minister, is dedicated to planning. Then from 2021, she said it'll start in phases.
Okay.
So the number wasn't given, but it's all about planning.
All right. Thank you so much, Cyril Ramaphosa, ENCA reporter, updating us on the education lekgotla that took place, where President Ramaphosa had, of course, addressed.